Driving home on a rainy evening, Avery spotted something small and vulnerable struggling on the side of the highway. Without hesitation, she pulled over, braving the downpour and rushing traffic to rescue a tiny, soaked kitten. Believing she had saved it from certain doom, she rushed it to the nearest vet for a checkup, expecting nothing but gratitude and a routine examination. But as soon as the vet laid eyes on the kitten, his expression turned grave, and he uttered, "We have a big problem here." It was almost too small to see in the evening twilight. A tiny kitten that could fit in the palm of Avery's hand. She had been driving home when she saw a little dark ball of fur moving frantically at the side of the road, almost running into traffic in a state of panic. She knew she couldn't leave the little animal behind, so she stopped. Cars sped past her as she ran down the side of the highway toward the animal. She was lucky the animal had just closed its eyes and had its back turned to her so she could scoop it off the ground without too much effort. Then she quickly ran back to her car and jumped inside. Her heart was racing as she slammed the door shut. She sat there for a few seconds, trying to get her heart rate down. She took a deep breath and looked at her hand. She felt the little furry animal moving inside it. Suddenly, it hit her. She had rescued a tiny kitten. She felt its little nails into her skin and heard its first meow. It was very high-pitched, the highest meow she had ever heard. "Hello, little baby," she said as she petted the little kitten with her fingers. "What were you doing at the side of the road on your own?" The kitten looked to be not even 2 weeks old. Avery wondered if its mother could be nearby. She turned around, looking out of her car window for more movement at the side of the road. Sadly, she quickly saw the mother's horrible fate. Avery's heart sank. A tear rolled down her cheek as she looked down at the kitten again. "It's just you and me now," she said with a heavy heart. The kitten was wet and shivering from the cold and could barely open its eyes. Avery knew she had to bring it to a vet as soon as possible, or else it could still end badly for this kitten. She sped home, knowing no vet would be open this time in the evening. Once home, she wrapped the kitten up in a blanket, put it in a box, and searched online about caring for such a young kitten. Avery already owned a cat, so she had some wet food and kibble in her home. But a kitten that young needed special care. Avery's cat curiously sniffed the box the kitten was in. She paused for a moment but then began to hiss at the box. Avery knew her cat wouldn't accept the kitten right away, so she picked her up and put her in another room. What the kitten needed right now was a little peace and quiet and to feel safe. Avery dried the kitten with the towel and fed it a mixture of mashed-up kibble and milk. It ate like it hadn't eaten in days and later passed out, cozy and warm inside the box. Avery sighed. Had she really just saved a random kitten off the streets? That night, she kept a close eye on the kitten and had the animal hospital on speed dial, just in case. She woke up with a startle the next morning, having passed out while watching the kitten. She immediately looked inside the box but was met with a shocking sight. Her stomach dropped as she saw the towel all bunched up, but the kitten was nowhere to be seen. Avery frantically picked up the towel to look under it, but the kitten was no longer inside the box. Her heart raced as she listened carefully to the kitten's little squeals. It had to be somewhere in the house. A kitten that small and weak couldn't get very far. She paced around her house, looking underneath her bed, the couch, and every cabinet close by. She began to lose hope when she suddenly heard her own cat purring very loudly. "Pip!" she carefully called for her cat. She began to follow the sound and quickly located her in one of her cat houses. Avery looked at Pip intently, trying to figure out why she was purring so loudly on her own. When she finally spotted it, the tiny kitten was bundled up against her own cat, and her cat was licking it lovingly. Avery's heart melted. Never had she thought her cat would warm up to the kitten so quickly, but her happiness was quickly overshadowed by worry. The kitten hadn't had a checkup yet. What if it had diseases it was now transmitting to her own cat? She quickly grabbed the kitten, even though it resisted. Pip began to meow loudly and followed Avery to the box. Once the kitten was inside the box, she locked her own cat in the living room and got dressed. She skipped breakfast as she wanted to get to the veterinarian clinic as fast as possible. If the kitten had a disease, she had to know it sooner rather than later so she could get treated and get her own cat checked as well. She placed the box on the passenger seat and quickly ran back inside to open her living room door. Her cat was now free to roam around again now that the kitten was out of the house. She could see Pip looking around, searching for the kitten. She felt very bad as she had long wanted a friend for Pip, and now she had taken it away. In the pouring rain, Avery found herself caught in an unexpected traffic jam. She nervously glanced at the tiny kitten beside her. The relentless downpour blurred the windshield, mirroring her growing anxiety. The highway, usually a fast track home, now seemed an endless barrier to the urgent help the kitten needed. Each raindrop resonated with her concern for the fragile life she had just rescued, as the minutes in the standstill felt like hours. The traffic moved at a painfully slow pace, exacerbating Avery's worry. She kept replaying the moment of the kitten's rescue in her mind, the soaking, scared little creature now in her care. Avery was filled with doubts. Was she truly ready for this responsibility? The steady rain seemed to echo her inner turmoil, amplifying the weight of her impulsive yet necessary decision to save this vulnerable life. Trapped in the unmoving traffic, Avery tried to soothe both herself and the kitten. She gently tapped the box, offering comfort. The urgency she felt contrasted starkly with her immobilized surroundings. Deep concern for the kitten's well-being grew with every minute of delay. Avery felt helpless in this situation, aware that every second was crucial for the kitten's survival. The delay continued, and Avery's concern for the kitten's health became more acute. Every minute was vital. She looked at the stagnant traffic, a sense of urgency building. Getting to the vet swiftly was imperative, but the relentless traffic was a formidable obstacle, testing her patience and resolve in this critical race against time. Finally, the traffic started to move. Avery drove with urgency, navigating the rain-slicked roads. She glanced at the box holding the kitten, feeling a mix of hope and concern. The journey to the vet was far from over, but this slight progress brought a flicker of optimism. She focused on the road ahead, determined to get the kitten the care it desperately needed. Upon reaching the veterinary clinic, Avery stepped out into the cool air, clutching the kitten's box tightly. The clinic's waiting room was bustling with activity, filled with other pet owners, each carrying their own story of concern. She joined the queue, the weight of the box in her arms, a constant reminder of the small, vulnerable life depending on her. The room buzzed with murmurs of worried conversations, creating a tapestry of shared anxiety and hope among the waiting pet owners. Settled in a corner of the waiting room, Avery watched the clock tick slowly, each minute stretching longer than the last. Around her, other pet owners comforted their animals, a symphony of soft coos, gentle pats, and whispered words of reassurance filling the room. Avery peered into the box at the tiny kitten, its small form a bundle of fluff and fragility. The wait was agonizing, a test of patience in the midst of her growing concern for the kitten's health. As Avery waited, she observed the interactions around her. An elderly couple fussed over a dachshund while a young boy clutched a guinea pig close to his chest. Each pet, from the smallest hamster to the largest dog, seemed to bring comfort to its owner, despite the underlying tension of the waiting room. Avery found a sense of connection in these moments, a shared understanding of the deep bond between humans and their animal companions. Avery's concern for the kitten grew with each passing moment. She noticed every small whimper and movement from the box, her mind racing with what-ifs and possibilities. Glancing around, she saw similar expressions of worry on the faces of other pet owners, each waiting for their turn. The air was thick with a mix of hope and apprehension as Avery continued to check on the kitten, wishing for the vet to call her name soon. The wait dragged on, deepening Avery's anxiety. She tried to stay composed for the kitten's sake, stroking the box gently, offering silent words of comfort. The clinic's atmosphere was a blend of nervous anticipation and hopeful patience. Avery's eyes darted between the kitten and the clinic door, each minute of delay amplifying her concern. She hoped for the best, yet braced herself for any news the vet might bring. As Avery sat in the waiting room, her mind began to churn with self-doubt. She questioned her impulsive decision to rescue the kitten. Was she really prepared for this? The uncertainty gnawed at her, making her feel uneasy about her sudden leap into pet rescue. She looked down at the box, second-guessing her actions, wondering if her desire to help had led her into a situation she wasn't equipped to handle. Avery's thoughts drifted to the responsibility she had unexpectedly taken on. Rescuing the kitten wasn't just a momentary act of kindness, it was a commitment that could alter her daily life. She pondered the changes that lay ahead, vet visits, care routines, and the emotional investment. This small creature could mean big changes, and Avery wondered if she was ready for the impact it would have on her life. Sitting with the kitten, Avery felt a whirlwind of emotions. Doubt mingled with a growing sense of attachment. She gazed at the tiny, sleeping form in the box, feeling a bond forming despite her uncertainties. The mix of fear and affection was confusing. She was unsure about the future but couldn't deny the pull she felt towards the little life she had saved. Avery began to realize the gravity of her decision to save the kitten. It was more than just a spur-of-the-moment act of kindness. It was a life-changing choice. She felt overwhelmed by the weight of this realization, but also a sense of determination. Saving this kitten meant facing challenges, but Avery felt a growing resolve to do whatever it took to ensure its well-being. Despite her swirling doubts, Avery felt her attachment to the kitten growing stronger. Each quiet meow, every small movement in the box deepened her commitment. She understood that caring for this kitten would be challenging, but she was ready to face those challenges. The bond they were forming was becoming an undeniable force, propelling her to commit wholeheartedly to the kitten's care and future. In the waiting room, Avery's attention was drawn to an elderly woman sitting nearby. Seeking a distraction from her worries, Avery initiated a conversation. The woman's warm smile and gentle demeanor immediately put her at ease. As they talked, Avery felt a sense of comfort in her presence, a welcome respite from her swirling thoughts. The woman's calmness seemed to radiate, offering Avery a moment of solace amidst her anxiety. As their conversation deepened, the woman began to share her own experiences with rescued animals. Each story was a tapestry of challenges and triumphs, resonating deeply with Avery. The woman's tales of nurturing and love provided Avery with a much-needed sense of connection and understanding. In these stories, Avery found comfort and a sense of solidarity, realizing she was not alone in her journey of animal rescue. The elderly woman's stories were rich with wisdom and insights. She spoke of the patience, commitment, and unexpected joys of caring for rescued animals. Avery listened intently, absorbing the lessons from the woman's past experiences. These stories broadened Avery's perspective on animal rescue, highlighting the profound impact of such acts of kindness. The wisdom imparted by the woman gave Avery a deeper understanding and appreciation for the journey she had embarked upon. Inspired by the woman's experiences, Avery felt a surge of renewed determination. The conversation had rekindled her resolve to care for the kitten, no matter the challenges ahead. The stories of perseverance and the bonds formed between the woman and her rescued animals ignited a renewed sense of purpose in Avery. She felt more prepared and motivated to embark on this unexpected journey with the kitten. Their conversation concluded on a note of hope and encouragement. The elderly woman's parting words were uplifting, instilling Avery with newfound confidence and optimism. As they parted ways, Avery felt a sense of gratitude for the encounter. The woman's stories and wisdom had not only offered comfort, but it also reinvigorated Avery's spirit. She now looked forward to the future with the kitten, filled with hope and a stronger belief in her ability to provide a loving home. Finally, Avery's turn arrived. She held her breath as the vet began a routine examination of the kitten. At first, everything seemed standard. The vet checked the kitten's eyes, ears, and tiny heartbeat. Avery watched intently, hoping for a clean bill of health. The vet's methodical movements and clinical approach conveyed a sense of normalcy, momentarily easing Avery's anxious thoughts. It all appeared straightforward, a regular checkup for the tiny, rescued life. As the examination progressed, Avery noticed a subtle but distinct change in the vet's demeanor. His initial efficiency slowly gave way to a more contemplative approach. He paused more frequently, his brows furrowing slightly as he conducted his checks. Avery's heart rate picked up, sensing that this shift might be indicative of something unexpected. The air in the room grew tense, Avery's worry resurfacing as she observed the vet's changing expression. The vet began to make initial observations, commenting on the kitten's overall health and condition. He noted its weight, the quality of its fur, and its responses to various stimuli. His words were measured, giving Avery a rundown of basic health indicators. However, there was an undertone in his voice that Avery couldn't quite place, a hint of something more beneath the surface of his clinical observations. Avery's puzzlement grew as the vet proceeded with additional tests. His expression became increasingly serious, his usual chattiness replaced with focused concentration. He ordered a few extra checks, unusual for a routine examination. Avery watched, her mind racing with questions. The normalcy of the situation was slipping away, replaced by a growing sense of uncertainty. What had the vet found or suspected that required these additional assessments? The room fell into a prolonged silence, punctuated only by the soft sounds of the vet's equipment. His pensive look, as he continued examining the kitten, left Avery feeling deeply uneasy. The lack of conversation, the intensity of his focus, it all hinted at something amiss. Avery's stomach knotted with worry, each passing moment of silence amplifying her concern. The vet's serious expression and the absence of reassuring words made her fear that they were on the cusp of an unexpected discovery. The vet, with a furrowed brow, began ordering a series of unusual tests for the kitten. Avery's heart sank with each new test added to the list. Blood samples, X-rays, and other procedures she couldn't name were carried out. The growing complexity of the examination left her more apprehensive. What could be so wrong with the tiny kitten that required such extensive testing? Avery's concern deepened, a sense of foreboding filling her as she watched the vet work meticulously. Seeking clarity, Avery bombarded the vet with questions. However, his responses were evasive and vague, providing little comfort or information. "We need to complete these tests to know more," he would say, or "let's not jump to conclusions just yet." His reluctance to provide concrete answers only heightened Avery's anxiety. She felt a growing frustration mixed with worry, her mind racing with possibilities about what could be ailing the little kitten. As the examination continued, the vet's silence grew, adding a tangible tension to the room. Avery sat on edge, every glance at the vet, a search for answers. The lack of communication was deafening, her own thoughts and worries echoing loudly in the quiet room. The vet's concentrated silence felt like a heavy blanket, suffocating the space with uncertainty and leaving Avery to grapple with her escalating fears alone. Avery watched anxiously as the vet ran the tests, each passing minute stretching into eternity. She felt helpless, her eyes darting between the vet and the kitten. The room seemed to close in around her, the clock ticking loudly, marking time in a space where time seemed to have lost all meaning. Her worry escalated with each tick, the uncertainty of the situation weighing heavily on her. The atmosphere in the clinic grew increasingly pensive, mirroring Avery's deepening concern. The usual sounds of the clinic faded into the background, overshadowed by the gravity of the situation at hand. Avery's mind was awash with concern for the kitten's health. She felt isolated in her worry, surrounded by the clinic's daily routines, yet profoundly alone in her apprehension, clinging to a hope that was becoming more fragile with each passing moment. As Avery sat immersed in her worries, the elderly woman she had spoken to earlier approached her. Noticing Avery's heightened anxiety, she offered words of comfort and a willingness to help with the kitten. Her empathetic presence was a beacon of support in Avery's sea of worry. The woman's gentle demeanor and understanding eyes conveyed a message of solidarity, making Avery feel less alone in her ordeal. The woman extended her support further by sharing her contact information with Avery. "Call me anytime, dear," she said, "whether you need advice or just someone to talk to." Her offer was genuine, a promise of guidance and support regardless of the outcome at the vet. Avery was touched by the gesture, a tangible connection in a moment filled with so much uncertainty. Avery felt a wave of gratitude for the woman's kindness. In a situation where she felt adrift, this unexpected support was a comforting anchor. The woman's offer to help, a simple yet profound gesture, brought a sense of relief to Avery. It eased her sense of isolation, making the weight of her worries a little more bearable. The kindness of a stranger had become a source of strength in her time of need. This encounter made Avery realize the importance of having a support network, especially in challenging times. The compassion and empathy offered by the woman highlighted the power of community and connection. Avery began to feel a sense of belonging, an understanding that she wasn't facing this situation alone. There were people, even strangers, who were willing to extend their care and support. Despite the swirling uncertainty and the unknown surrounding the kitten's health, Avery found a reason to feel grateful. The elderly woman's gesture of kindness had made a significant impact. It not only offered practical support but also uplifted Avery's spirits. In a situation where much was out of her control, this act of kindness was a reassuring reminder that compassion and empathy still thrived, even in the most unexpected places. The vet summoned Avery back into the examination room, his face etched with seriousness. "There's something unusual about this kitten," he began, his tone grave. He revealed that the kitten was not just any domestic cat but belonged to a rare, potentially endangered breed. Avery's heart skipped a beat as she processed his words. The revelation was completely unexpected, turning what she thought was a simple rescue into something far more complex. Avery stood in disbelief, absorbing the vet's revelation. The kitten, which she had found vulnerable on the highway, was now at the center of a scenario far beyond a regular rescue. The discovery that it was a rare breed brought with it a host of unforeseen legal and ethical considerations. Questions raced through her mind, each one adding to her shock and the growing realization of the situation's complexity. The vet continued to explain the legal and ethical dilemmas involved in caring for an endangered species. Avery listened intently, her mind reeling with the vet's words. It wasn't just about providing shelter and care anymore. There were regulations and responsibilities that she hadn't even considered. The more she learned, the more daunting the task seemed. Avery felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of what rescuing this kitten now entailed. The understanding that she had rescued a potentially endangered animal dawned on Avery, altering the entire nature of her responsibility. It was no longer just a matter of nursing the kitten back to health and finding it a home. This revelation brought with it a weighty sense of duty, and she grappled with the reality of her newfound responsibility. The stakes were higher than she ever imagined when she first decided to save the kitten. Avery found herself navigating uncharted territory. The simple act of rescuing a kitten had evolved into a situation fraught with complexity and uncertainty. She had stepped into a role she never anticipated, one filled with challenges and decisions she was unprepared for. The path ahead was unclear, and Avery felt both daunted and determined to find the right course of action for the rare and precious life now in her care. Avery, determined to understand the full implications of the kitten's rare status, immersed herself in research. She delved into the world of conservation laws, learning about the intricacies of protecting endangered species. Her search extended to ethical breeding practices, seeking information that could guide her in caring for the kitten. It was a journey into a realm she had never explored, filled with regulations and responsibilities she needed to comprehend. As Avery's research deepened, she began to grasp the complexities surrounding endangered species. She learned about the delicate balance of conservation efforts and the critical role of those who care for such animals. Each article and report shed light on the immense responsibility she now faced, illustrating the delicate intersection of environmental law, animal rights, and ethical care. The more she learned, the more she understood the significance of her role in the kitten's life. Feeling the need for expert guidance, Avery reached out to conservationists and animal rights activists. She sought advice from those well-versed in handling situations like hers. Emails were sent, phone calls made, each conversation a step towards understanding the best course of action for the kitten. These experts offered perspectives that were both invaluable and eye-opening, providing Avery with a clearer path forward in navigating this unexpected journey. Avery's quest for knowledge led her to a world brimming with information. The more she read, the more insights she gained, but with each piece of information came new questions. The breadth of data was enlightening yet overwhelming, painting a complex picture of the world of endangered species. Avery realized that each decision she made would need to be informed and thoughtful, considering the multifaceted nature of her situation. Amidst her research, Avery found herself struggling to balance her emotional attachment to the kitten with the ethical considerations of its rare status. Her heart was fully invested in the kitten's well-being, but her mind was acutely aware of the broader implications of her actions. It was a delicate act of balancing personal affection with the responsibility of caring for a rare and potentially endangered species, a challenge that Avery was determined to navigate with care and sensitivity. In the quiet of her home, Avery sat contemplating the moral and legal challenges before her. The weight of the decision regarding the kitten's future lay heavily on her shoulders. She understood that whatever choice she made would have far-reaching implications, not just for the kitten, but for the conservation of its species. It was a pivotal moment requiring a balance of heart, mind, and ethical responsibility. After extensive thought and consultation, Avery reached a heartfelt resolution. She decided to collaborate with a conservation group specializing in the kitten's rare breed. This decision, though emotionally challenging, felt right. It ensured the kitten would receive the specialized care it needed while contributing to the broader efforts to protect and preserve its species. Avery knew this was the best way to honor the commitment she had made when she first rescued the kitten. Avery recognized that her decision, while difficult on a personal level, served a greater good. By entrusting the kitten to experts in conservation, she was playing a part in safeguarding the future of a rare species. This act of letting go was a testament to her commitment to conservation. She found solace in knowing that her rescue had a purpose beyond what she initially imagined, contributing to a cause larger than herself. To fulfill her original intent of providing a companion for her cat Pip, Avery adopted another kitten. This time, she chose a domestic kitten from a local shelter. As she introduced the new kitten to Pip, Avery felt a sense of joy and closure. It was a new beginning, a chance to provide love and care to another animal in need, continuing her journey of compassion and companionship. The story culminated with Avery sitting quietly, watching both kittens. One, a rare breed now destined for a life of conservation, and the other, a playful domestic kitten beginning its new life with her. Avery reflected on her journey, a journey that started with a simple act of kindness and grew into a profound lesson in compassion and responsibility. It was a journey that changed her, deepening her understanding of the delicate balance between human intervention and the natural world.